everyone. Welcome to another session of Beyond Connections, MyTrade's bi-weekly session for you to be able to ask us analysts from Abacus Securities your burning questions about the stock market. I am Bess, one of the analysts for Abacus and or MyTrade, and I'm joined today by...
Hi, I'm Rainier and I cover mostly the consumer companies and as well as the energy stocks.
And I'm Isaiah. I am one of the technical analysts for MyTrade Analysts.
So, feel free to post your questions about your portfolio, what stocks you're interested in, anything, any latest developments in the stock market. How about you, IC? What are you looking at currently?
Well, I'm still monitoring the index. It looks like it's trying to make an attempt at the 7,000 level.
Maybe we can take a look at the chart.
So as you can see, here's this. It's been a resistance for almost a year at the 7,000 level. I don't know about this. Can we do it? Too optimistic?
Yes, you can.
Yes,
Says
we
Obama. Anyway. We had a good bit of news early this morning. Inflation hot off the presses, kind of. Inflation for August was quite low, lower than market expectations, and actually in the lower end of the BSP's forecast range at 3.3%. This is also much lower than July's 4.4%. And also notably core inflation, which excludes the volatile items of oil, rice, and meat, is also quite low, 2.6%, which is much lower also than the previous one's 2.9%. So this paves the way for the BSP to continue with their easing cycle, which we expect to happen in the next monetary board meeting, which is in October, I think. So that could be another catalyst for the market to continue after this short pause to it's on its way up back to challenge the resistance levels. What do you think, Rainier?
Yeah, and prior to that, actually, coming in a few weeks is the Fed, right? Best, if I'm not mistaken, that's about September 17 or 18.
Yes.
Well, Manila time would be 19.
Mhm.
But that could be one of the catalysts as well. Although the US right now, over the past few trading days, have seen some declines due to Nvidia. Although that's another issue, uh, and as well as the job openings numbers or the job report from the US have started to come lower than expected. So that is some, those are some concerning signs that would probably put a exclamation point or basically the go signal for the Fed to cut the rates. Although do you think one catalyst for the PSEI to break the 7,000 would be the Fed?
That could also be one that is actually, you're right, the nearer the then the one that's gonna happen earlier than the BSP, so that could be catalyst as well. This coming in the next 2 weeks. One thing to note is that the slowing number of uh, jobs, the slowdown in the jobs numbers for the US is also quite a concerning number because the expectations now is for the US to cut 3 times up to the end of the year, which could be a sign also of, or is sort of what the Fed would be doing in a recession area. So that's indicative of a slowdown in the U.S. economy, which could be negative. However, if the cuts are able to do its job, so we could have this could be this could be prevented, and would be another push for the BSP to continue with their easing further into next year. So we will have that catalyst for this month from the Fed and then also next month from the BSP as well. So hopefully this will both turn out positively for the markets, for everyone's um, good fortune.
Yeah, I think in the next couple of months, or this month, we have the Fed. Next month, we have the BSP meeting that could potentially lead to another cut. Then come November, it's an exciting US election. So,
Exciting.
yes. So I think it's time to go on to our questions. Uh, okay, maybe you can start with, oh, it's a new name, Miss Alisa Aguas. Hi, I was wondering if you can provide us with an insight on the fundamentals of Manila water.
Yes, so we are quite bullish on Manila Water. It's had a good run this year, but we believe that it still has some legs over the medium to long term, since the key driver that has pushed its earnings higher both last year and this year is the tariff hikes that was implemented at the start of the year. There are still a few more tranches left for further hikes next year and then in the following year. So they should continue to boost their income growth um, going forward. Also, aside from the tariff hikes, bill connections are growing, volume is growing, so that is also boosting their income. And also, we are expecting um, Maynilad to do its IPO next year probably, since they are mandated to do their IPO within a certain time frame. We are expecting that to happen next year. This would um, increase interest on Manila Water as well, since um, their main competitor, not competitor, but peer would also be listed in the PSE and would provide better visuals on on the valuation of the utilities water sector as a whole. So yes, we're quite so positive on Manila Water. Earlier this year, there were key concerns on water supply during the El Niño season, but that's obviously uh, done with now, with even La Mesa Dam reaching spilling levels this week because of the rains. Hopefully, Angkat Dam as well has been amply replenished in order to be able to supply us with water well into next year, even throughout the summer next year. So those are the key drivers, key fundamentals for Manila Water. Good to see new names in our chat box today. Welcome. Next question from LV De La Cruz. Or maybe do we want to see a chart of Manila Water first?
Okay, for the chart, it's up there. So for Manila Water, the price action looks very bullish for Manila Water. Consolidation at the highest, basically, uh, it's more like a descending triangle, but the volume is lower. So any break above, say, 27 pesos would be a continuation of the up. So you would probably just project it upwards. Maybe able to trend higher after, if it does break out.
So is it better, IC, to look at entering a position near the lower channel, or is it better to buy on the breakout?
I guess it depends how big your account size is. So if you have a bigger account, you probably want to buy lower. You probably accumulate towards maybe the lower end here. If you have a smaller account, you may want to buy on the new high, since you won't have so much. You won't need so many shares to purchase.
Okay, thank you for that, IC.
That's right.
Okay, then I think we can move on to the next question. Thank you for that. Does the PSEI have a positive correlation with the US market?
Generally, historically, the local market has followed whatever happens with the US market. Since we are still quite affected by for the interest of foreign investors. But over the past few years, I believe this has decreased a little. Is this something that can be seen in the technicals?
Um, I think if you look at the chart of the US, you'll see that the Philippines kind of got left behind. Is that because of the pandemic? That's like earnings wasn't able to catch up, or
Sorry.
was it earnings wasn't able to catch up as quickly? Was it?
Yes, for most of the companies, especially for the bigger cap ones, the conglomerates, it's been a mixed picture. Not a lot has been. There are still a few that are um, still below pandemic levels, although most of them by now have caught up with 2019 levels in terms of earnings. Uh, the positive correlation comes with with basically how much foreign activity there is in local stocks. So if you notice during the past over the past few years, or maybe even over the past decade, we have seen foreign selling actually, which has um, or all of the foreign buying that came in when the Philippines was given investment grade rating by the three main ratings agencies way back in 2013 have now been parang dried up. They have all been by now in the 10 years since then has been I don't know, depleted. Yes, because of the heavy foreign selling over the past 10 years. So that has resulted in less correlation with the US market and more activity from domestic investors. But still, when they do start to come in, foreign investors start to come in again. Hopefully, uh, we will see more or bigger moves for the PSEI. So hopefully that happens, and this could also be another catalyst for the index as well.
Okay, thank you for that question, Sir LD, as usual. And yes, we can move on to the next question. So, hello again from Ken. Uh, how do you think of the probability for Plus to be included in the index next February?
And also, LB has a question for you, I think, anyway. So we recently discussed this in our daily report, short takes, called Apico Short Takes. But our expectation is for Plus to not be included in the PSCI by next Feb, which is the next index rebalancing exercise for the BSC. This is mostly because Plus is still Plus's market cap is still at the level that's not high enough to rank in the main index. So probably not February, possibly in August, but it's still quite unpredictable since it also depends on the market cap levels of the rest of the index members and also the other stocks that are vying for inclusion. Um, we would expect Plus to be included in the index if it is able to reach 26, 27 pesos and stay there for a significant amount of time. Um, if you remember, Plus was trading at uh, half of its current level, so around 13 pesos, 14 pesos for most of this year. Uh, and the review period for February is from January this year to December. So that's still pulling down the average volume weighted average price for Plus, which is the one that's used to compute the market cap level for the index inclusion. So that's why it's not going to be included. So far, we think it's not going to be included for the February review. So, um, So there. Not yet. So hold your horses. I think Plus's movements would still be more determined by its fundamentals rather than possibly pushing in the index. Maybe
Yeah.
are you going to talk about that?
Yeah, on the fundamentals, well, for the probability of plus, well, for Fed is quite unlikely, but the August one might be a different story, especially since the review period for August is tilted to the second half of this year, and in the second half of this year, we are seeing plus moving ahead of some of the index members in terms of market cap. And what we may see over the next few months, especially when they report the third quarter and fourth quarter numbers, they're likely to be stronger as well, given that their growth trajectory remains to be intact, especially that they are driving higher GGR numbers even compared to the land-based casino. So really a strong fundamental play for Plus. Not yet time to price in the PSCI, quite a long way to go. So for now, really more of a fundamental slash growth play for Plus.
Okay. Maybe we can see more questions.
Okay, next question. Oh, we are seeing a lot more. Newer names today. So, from Tayolos, what is your insight about our REITs performance? I guess he's talking about the REITs in general. Yes, okay. We aren't seeing any follow-up questions on the REITs, but I think for the REITs, the ones that have been performing better are the ones that are, well, it's more of a subjective point of view in terms of the REITs, but the ones with more asset quality on their side have been more favorable, especially after the BSP cut their rates. So the likes of ARI, CREIT, they have been performing better than its other peers compared to the likes of MREIT and the others, which have a higher yield at this point because of the stark improvement in the share price and capital appreciation of the likes of ARIT and CREIT. So really, their performance, or basically the REIT's performance, have been tilted to or concentrated to the few names there, and they continue to be our preferred names, and specifically because of their asset quality. Okay. Yes. I think we can move on to the next question. Oh, yeah. Oh. Best you want to take
Okay, so from LB De La Cruz again, your thoughts on Converge Plus and SP Next. So we just discussed Plus. Maybe Rainer can discuss SP Next after this. But for Converge, it's been one of the top performing stocks in the index this year, but we are not that keen on Converge yet. Or yeah, earnings has been boosted by non or below the line items, or basically non-core items. Um, so that are that's resulted in very good numbers in terms of earnings, which is probably the driver for the price performance of late. But in terms of average revenue per user, it's still declining since Converge is concentrating on adding more prepaid and lower tier postpaid customers. So we are expecting our ARPUs to continue to go down. And once those non-core items start to dwindle over the next few quarters, we may see some slowdown in the earnings growth. So we're not that keen on Converge. Also, the telco space is still quite the competition is still quite intense, so that's something that will also be headwind for the sector in general. There's also some news that with the recent partnership with Sky Cable, they took on uh, Sky Cable as a corporate client. So I think there were part of the price performance as well was some speculation they may be actually buying Sky Cable, but that has been dispelled by management in certain news interviews. So um, Sky Cable remains just a client of Conversion, not a subsidiary or something like that. So that's Pinay
Well, maybe we can take a look at the technicals first, just so we're in the same topic.
for Conversion.
Yes, for
Oh,
Converge
Converge.
first. Yeah.
So, yeah. So Converge, you can see it's a strong uptrend. Found support at the 21-day exponential moving average. So if you just extrapolate the recent price performance, you can see it may make a test or make a run of about 17 pesos. So you may want to consider using the 21-day exponential moving average as the trading stop. So if it closes below that, you might want to take profits. Next.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, for SPNet. Maybe you can show the chart, then I'll provide you can provide some.
While you're
Yeah.
discussing them.
Yeah. Okay, so for SPNet, as you can see in the chart in a bit, that SPNet has seen a lot of recovery in the past weeks. It has rallied above the 1 peso after dipping close to the 90 cent level. And I guess that was a strong support at that point and has now rallied probably close to 30 to 40%. And the catalyst for this is there have been a few developments over the past few weeks. So first, basically Meralco has extended a note facility for SPNet that is amounting to 6.7 billion or equivalent to 5.8 billion on maturity exchangeable. And that's a translation of about 1.15 per share. But it's not, on our view, it's not really a strong or not really going to affect the fundamentals of SPNet since we are looking at the bigger catalyst, which is the potential partner for the Terra Solar project. So they are bringing in a partner or partners or even partners for the big project of Terra Solar, which will probably dwarf the other projects of SPNet. Really, this is a milestone or key milestone for the company for the Terra Solar project that is expected to come online in 2026, 2027. And the valuations for that is the one that is being anticipated by the market and now being priced much higher than the 1 peso that we saw and even higher than the valuation that we saw in the recent transaction between Meralco and SPNet. So that is one of the catalysts in the near term. That's why we are advising clients to hold on to SPNet.
So in the very short term, the technicals just suggest some short-term resistance at 145 to up to 157 within the declining channel for SPNet.
Okay. Thank you. I see.
Thank you.
I think we can move on to the next question. Okay, from Ms. Alice Tanzenko, any insights on CHP? Well, for CHP, I think it's really at this point more of a question mark. I think the market has been trading it on a sideways motion since CHP, since it has been acquired by DMCI, and DMCI has put out a plan for CHP on its turnaround. Though it helps for CHP that it will see some synergies with the projects of DMCI and as well as the royalty payments being taken out that should be beneficial for the bottom line of CHP. But DMCI we believe that may probably be over optimistic in terms of the outlook for the cement business, especially CHP has undergone uh, financial difficulties over the past year, especially with higher raw material costs and higher fuel prices that has compressed margins for the cement business. So for CHP, not too keen yet on CHP, since it is at this point really at the inflection point whether how DMCI will be able to handle their business. But DMCI has been able to ano naman, uh, shown its history on the turnarounds, and basically it fits on its construction specimen as a conglomerate. But CHP in particular kasi it's more of a it's in a business that is not really on the positive side of the cycle. So if you are looking at that segment of the sector of or that segment in the sector, we might prefer DMCI over CHP at this point.
Okay, next question I think is also for you, Rainier. What do you think of FCG from 21 sessions? Is it a good long-term investment? And yes, we will take that into consideration to invest in AMI before hopefully. We have been having problems with this
Yes.
like for some time.
Yeah.
So what's your thoughts
Yeah.
on FCG?
Okay, thank you for that question, and thank you for the suggestion 21 session. So for FCG, well, I think it IPO'd back in 2022 at 75 cents, and now 2 years or 2.5 years later, it is still within that range, it despite its main brand in Angel's Pizza continuing to expand and successfully in expanding. Top line has grown significantly, and bottom line, although not as significant yet compared to how its top line has performed, but we believe that it is a good long-term investment, especially based on the performance and the the track on how or basically the growth trajectory of Angel's Pizza, which is the main driver for Figaro. And I think there have been rumors lately on a potential investor in FCG. That's why we are seeing some movements on FCG. And we recall that Monday, which is a much bigger food group than FCG, has invested in the company at 1 peso. So really put some perspective on FCG as a company. And basically what we've seen so far after that investment is um, Angels has continued to do well. Although the company as a whole is experiencing some margin compression on higher raw material prices, but based on what we've seen in the first half, they are seeing stark improvements. Although no updates yet on the possible synergy between FCG and One Day. Okay. So thank you for the question.
Maybe
One
we
session.
can look at the chart for FCG.
Okay.
Sir.
Yeah. FCG.
So quick chart for FCG. You can see a rounding bottom is formed over the past 5 days. You have consolidation at highs. If this breaks upwards, of course, this will be bullish. The next resistance levels will be closer to 1 peso. So that's what you're hopefully trying to gain.
Okay. Thank you for that,
Bullish,
IC. And again, thank you for the
Thank you.
question on FCG. So going back to the questions.
Hopefully we can scroll down so we can see what are the questions on the board. Down, please.
Oh, okay. We are seeing an influx of questions. Best take the floor away.
I am seeing only greetings and fragments of questions. I saw earlier Julius Manala asking for an incomplete questions. Maybe you can type in the rest of the question. I think there were earlier ones na mas nauna. Thoughts? So, sige, from Alisa Aguas, thoughts on BDO RCI. So first on BDO, and for the banking sector as a whole, we are not very bullish. We're actually neutral on that. Although in the near term, with the beginning of the BSP easing cycle, interest expenses for the banks in general will decrease, which will result in higher interest income for about a quarter or two. But over the medium to long term, so by next year, earnings or net interest margins for banks will start to compress, um, since their yields um, will also start to come down with reduced benchmark and market rates. So for BDO in particular, it's also trading already near our fair value. It's already trading a little near the 10-year mean price adjusted book value. So the upside is already limited. Um, Although earnings will still be strong in the next quarter, as earlier mentioned. Um, Loan growth also for the banking sector has stalled in the last 2 months, although this is still um, uh, inching slightly higher to, so it was a 10% for the past 3 months to from May to July, which are the latest numbers. We are seeing the start of some slowdown in consumer loan growth, which have been driving the sector's growth in the past few quarters. So that's also um, another headwind for the sector as well. Um, Friday, we can look at it in a technical.
Well, first we can take a look at BDO, then look at RCI. So can you take a look at the chart for BDO?
So here's the price action of BDO. It's been trading in an ascending channel, but as you can see in the lower panel, the momentum is slowing. So you may want to look to lighten closer to resistance at 160 and maybe buy back once it goes lower to support levels. RCI, RCI on the technicals, after a strong run up, it formed a bullish point wedge and has since completed, I don't know, if it breaks this 3 pesos 53 centavos level, the next target would be about the next resistance at 4.5 pesos. Momentum improving on the lower panel here, so you may have an influx of buyers after this resistance gets taken out.
Okay, thank you for that, IC. And I think we are running out of time, and I think we can take one last question. Since I apologize to everyone, and we appreciate all your questions, but we don't have the luxury of time. But that's okay.
So let's take that question from Julius Manalo. What's your outlook on Erie? This is actually one of our picks for the REITs in general. So lately, not lately, this year they had the property for share swap with Ali, which is expected to close by the third quarter of this year. So quite soon. That infuses quite a number of properties into a REIT, which would increase their rental revenues and uh, hopefully dividend payout in going forward. Also, uh, this also diversifies um, what- their list of properties more into commercial, not just from office spaces, which should fare better in the long term than the office sector. Also, another key development for EREIT we're expecting is the high probability that it will enter the index, if not in February, then um, yes, probably in February, depending on when they are able to close that property for share swap with Ali, since this involves additional shares issuance of AREIT to Ali, which would increase their market cap. So that would be a big positive for AREIT. Uh, and aside from membership in the PACI, management themselves have said that they are aiming for membership in regional global REIT indices, which um, we will have to look into whether how probable that would be. But since management said this is their goal, um, we this if this happens, it could increase foreign interest in the stock as well. So which could drive capital appreciation as which would be an addition to the expected favorable dividend yield for AREIT shareholders. Quite a lot of questions we weren't able to read. If you're a client of MyTrade, you should also be able to access our Facebook group, MyTrade Map, where you can post your questions, and we will be taking note of the questions that we have not been able to answer in today's session, and post our answers there to the best of our ability. Also, quite a good thing that we're seeing new names. Welcome everyone to hopefully we'll see you again in our next bi-weekly sessions of Beyond Connections. Um, I guess that's it for today. Any parting words, I see you here?
Okay, again, we appreciate all the questions, and I hope this is a reflection on the interest that the market is seeing. It has been trending more favorably compared to the last 6 to 12 months, and hopefully it will continue. And we are in a position to capitalize on that. So, thank you again, and hope to see you in a few weeks' time.